Welcome to the deep dive. Every single day, you're just bombarded with this incredible amount of information, headlines, alerts, viral stories.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It really is. And it's a challenge just filtering it all, let alone figuring out what truly matters, what actually impacts your world.
Hmm.
So for this deep dive, we're aiming to take all that raw information you've gathered and really cut through the noise.
Right.
The mission is pretty clear. Pull out the most important nuggets, unpack those surprising insights, and hopefully give you a clearer picture of the world as it moves.
And that mission feels more critical than ever, really. It's not just about knowing what's happening.
Exactly.
It's really grasping why it matters and how these things that seem totally separate actually connect, across continents, across industries. This deep dive should help you not just see things, but actually interpret them, see the bigger patterns, and, well, really inform your perspective on what's shaping your life.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The urgent pulse of global affairs seems like the place to start because the situation between Israel and Iran, well, it's unfortunately escalated significantly.
It really has, worryingly so.
We've been seeing these intensified Israeli airstrikes targeting what are reported as Iran's nuclear facilities. And then, in response, Iran launched missiles. One tragically hit and severely damaged a hospital in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, that specific incident, it caused huge waves.
It didn't just make headlines, it instantly echoed everywhere, didn't it? Sparking really intense international discussion, a lot of concern.
And what's really striking, I think, isn't just the conflict itself, but how fast and how far the international ripple effect spread.
You mean like the diplomats?
Exactly. European diplomats are literally in Geneva right now, meeting with Iranian reps, pushing hard for ceasefire.
So it's serious.
It shows real urgency from the international community. And it's not just Europe. Russia also put out a very direct warning to the U.S., basically saying, stay out of it militarily.
Urging restraint.
Yeah, urging restraint as these fears across the Middle East just keep climbing.
Yeah.
When you step back, it shows how quickly a regional conflict, even with a specific tragic impact like that hospital strike, can pull global powers into making these direct diplomatic warnings.
Reveals those interconnected pressure points, right? Energy, security.
Yeah.
Things you need to watch.
Absolutely. Things that demand your attention.
And, beyond these big flashpoints dominating the news, there are other important political shifts happening, maybe a bit more quietly, but still impactful.
Definitely.
Like in India, PM Modi just kicked off a series of major development projects in Bihar. Big focus on infrastructure, railways, housing.
Key areas.
It's not just local news, though. It feels like a strategic push, boosting the economy, improving quality of life for potentially millions, and it generated a lot of local buzz, discussion online, too.
Yeah, those kinds of domestic initiatives can have wide-ranging effects.
And then over in Japan, Prime Minister Ishiba came out and definitively ruled out calling early elections, which seemed to calm things down quite a bit, politically speaking, after what sounded like a pretty tense week for their government.
That kind of certainty can be important for stability. And then you have these other shifts, positive ones, that maybe fly under the radar a bit.
Like what?
Well, Chile climbing 2 spots in a global competitiveness ranking.
Okay. Sounds a bit technical, maybe.
It might sound technical, but it's a real boost to their economic profile, how they're seen globally. And what's insightful there, I think, is how they did it.
Right.
It seems like their consistent policy environment, sticking to open markets, even with regional ups and downs, allowed them to quietly move up.
So stability pays off.
For your investment strategies, maybe. It suggests that stable, predictable governance in a market could be a decent long-term hedge against all the volatile headline stuff happening elsewhere.
Interesting point.
So you see how these different things, the big conflicts, the quiet development projects, these shifts in rankings, they all weave together into this really complex global picture that, one way or another, touches your world.
Yeah.
Commodity prices, investment climates, it's all connected.
Okay, so from that geopolitical chessboard, let's follow the ripples right into the economy, into your financial reality. Looking at those immediate market reactions, those surprises,
Right.
we saw those instant dips in stock markets globally. Dow fell 1.5%, NASDAQ down 1.1%.
Pretty sharp drops.
And everyone's pointing directly at the Middle East conflict, spooking the investors who are always watching risk levels. That was definitely the big topic in financial chats everywhere.
Understandably so.
So the big question, I guess, is how much of that dip is just a knee-jerk reaction? And how much signals something deeper, a real shift in risk assessment that maybe your portfolio needs to adjust to?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Distinguishing the signal from the noise.
Mm-hmm.
And it highlights resilience in certain pockets. It makes you wonder, maybe, how much traditional market thinking needs a rethink sometimes.
How so?
Well, while the main markets were down, there was this really interesting counter-trend. Australian uranium stocks,
Yeah.
they surged. Pretty significantly, actually, after a $200 million U.S. investment in uranium oxide.
Huh. Why the sudden interest?
Well, it doesn't seem random. It looks like a signal of renewed, maybe strategic interest in nuclear energy globally. Perhaps driven by those longer-term energy security worries, climate goals, things like that.
So a potential opportunity if you're looking at diversifying energy investments.
Could be. It definitely caught traders off guard. And similarly, look at India. The overall market had slight dips, yes, but its IT and pharma sectors,
Strong performers usually.
remarkably resilient, held their ground, some even thrived. It just shows that even when global uncertainty is high, industries with strong fundamentals can offer surprising stability.
It's not just stocks either, right? We're seeing shifts in broader retail and trade, too.
That's right.
Like in the UK, sustainable fashion brands seem to be driving a real retail boom over there.
Yeah, that's gaining traction.
It feels like more than just a niche trend now. Maybe a bigger shift in what consumers want. Ethical sourcing, environmental focus. And these UK brands are getting global attention for it.
It reflects a changing consumer mindset, definitely. And if we swing over to commodities, Brazil's coffee exports just hit a 5-year high.
Wow. Good for their economy, I imagine.
Huge boost for their rural economies, yes. But it also affects global supply chains and maybe even the price of your morning coffee.
Ah, okay, point taken.
So the underlying story here, I think, is that while big global events can absolutely create instability and fear, we saw that in the markets, specific sectors, specific regions, even niche markets can show incredible resilience. Unexpected growth, even.
A good reminder.
Yeah, it's a reminder that the global economy isn't monolithic. It's a complex, multi-layered, always has these surprising pockets of opportunity, even when the big picture looks shaky.
It is remarkable how that resilience shows up. And speaking of surprises and transformations, let's shift gears and dive into technology. Things are moving so fast there, always rewriting the rules.
Always.
Now, there was one tech story that really jumped out at me, a South Korean startup. AI-powered robot dogs.
Oh, yeah. I saw those.
They're not just technically advanced. They went viral globally, didn't they? For these incredibly lifelike tricks, and apparently they're selling out everywhere.
They are pretty compelling.
What is it about these bots that's so captivating? And what does it maybe tell us about, how ready consumers are for sophisticated AI in their daily lives?
I think it's that blend, isn't it? Advanced robotics, yes, but combined with this AI behavior that feels, well, almost organic, genuinely surprising.
Right.
It shows AI moving from just abstract code into these tangible, interactive things that just capture our imagination.
But it's not all fun and games in tech. On the other end of the spectrum, very dramatic, SpaceX's Starship test.
Yes, the explosion.
Ended in that massive explosion during a static fire test. And the footage, it was everywhere online.
Hugely dramatic visual.
It's a setback, obviously, but also just a stark reminder of the risks, right? The enormous challenges when you're pushing the absolute boundaries of space tech.
It really highlights that fine line between ambitious innovation and just the hard realities of engineering at that scale.
But away from the viral pets and the dramatic explosions, there's also some really practical, impactful tech-making waves, stuff that changes how we interact globally.
Like translation tools.
Exactly. A Canadian AI startup just launched this tool for real-time language translation. Think about that for global businesses.
Game changer.
Huge. Streamlining communication across borders, across cultures, something people have dreamed about, making international collaboration just so much smoother.
And that drive for efficiency is happening in cities, too. Singapore's smart city tech keeps expanding, especially their AI traffic systems.
Cutting commute times, I read.
Effectively, yeah. Not
Right.
just minor tweaks, but actually making a tangible difference to daily life, productivity in a really busy city.
It does raise questions, though, doesn't it? This pace of tech advancement,
It definitely does.
this dual potential, for amazing consumer delight on one hand, but also significant challenges on the other.
Absolutely. And we see that tension playing out in safety debates, too, like the ongoing Air India crash investigation.
The black box issue.
Right, the whole debate over where the black box data should be decoded. It highlights just how complex data access and accountability become with modern technology involved in accidents. So it's clear, I think, that AI and advanced tech are rapidly reshaping daily life, global operations for
Right.
you. It's not just about convenience anymore. It's prompting these really deep questions about privacy, jobs, maybe even how we make decisions, things we're only just starting to really grapple with.
Okay, so from the big shifts in tech, let's move towards the more human, the cultural side of the global landscape. Explore what's capturing people's attention, what they're talking about.
That's good.
And let's start with something lighter, a truly viral sports moment. That goalkeeper's own goal, Brazil-Argentina World Cup qualifier.
Oh, that was painful to watch.
Wasn't it just, not just a slip up, it instantly exploded online? Memes, debates,
Yeah.
everyone dissecting it, wondering if it would cost the team the game.
Total disbelief, yeah. But kind of funny in retrospect.
Definitely unforgettable. United fans in shock and humor, I guess.
And speaking of global phenomena, K-pop just keeps going, doesn't it?
It really does.
There's a new K-pop-inspired animated series, K-pop Demon Hunters, debuted on Netflix.
Okay.
Apparently trending hard.
Yeah.
People talking about the bold visuals, the unique concept, really hitting a wide global audience.
Interesting mix. And then also on streaming, the Minecraft movie premiered on HBO Max.
Ah, right. How's that doing?
Mixed reactions, it seems. A lot of chatter online. Seems quite quirky in its take on the game. Shows how tricky it is adapting these massive cultural things, right?
Very tricky. Pleasing the fan base while doing something new.
And we're seeing this cultural energy elsewhere, too. Nigeria's Nollywood, they released a thriller that just shot to the top of African streaming charts.
Nollywood's reach is incredible.
Shows the power of local stories finding that broad audience. And in Paris, an AI-driven art festival actually had to extend its run.
Because it was so popular.
Immensely popular, went viral, a really fascinating mix of traditional art and cutting-edge tech.
That is an interesting blend.
And back in India, the Odissi Dance Festival in Odisha drew tourists from all over, huge local attention too, celebrating that timeless beauty, that global appeal of traditional arts.
It's wonderful to see that diversity. And what's really inspiring, I find, is how these cultural threads often lead us to stories of real human impact, innovation, resilience.
Yeah, the uplifting stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, take the Pakistani student who won a Global Innovation Award, developed a low-cost water filter.
Wow, that's
A
fantastic.
brilliant solution to a critical need, right?
Yeah.
And that story got a lot of well-deserved attention online.
As it should.
Or the U.S. teacher. Started a virtual coding boot camp, ended up empowering 20,000 rural students, opening doors to tech for communities that might get overlooked.
Incredible impact.
Then there's the Australian chef. Remember the bushfires? Their relief food trucks served thousands. Just pure community spirit in action, earned so much praise.
Heartwarming.
And a Thai farmers' organic rice cooperative, a sustainable project that lifted 500 families out of poverty, shows the power of community-led development,
Amazing stories.
even in the environment. Volunteers in Iceland saving a stranded polar bear. The videos were everywhere, really boosted conservation calls. And on a larger scale, China's solar panel production hitting record levels that points to huge shifts in global energy.
It's a lot happening on so many fronts. And just quickly, before we wrap, other sports news catching fire online. India's cricket team is gearing up for a big test series against New Zealand.
Ah, yes. Big anticipation there.
Fans are buzzing online, lots of talk about prospects and expectations. And in golf, the U.S. Open had a bit of an upset on day one, a rookie leading the pack.
Always love an underdog story. Keeps things exciting.
Proves anything can happen on the course, right?
Absolutely. And yet what really stands out when you connect all these different stories, the viral moments, the quiet community work, the big industrial shifts, it's this consistent thread. Human ingenuity, resilience, this deep global interconnectedness. These are the stories that really shape our shared world, I think,
Yeah.
showing both the challenges we face and that remarkable ability to create positive change.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it really feels like the insights we've pulled paint such a vivid picture, a world that's just constantly moving.
Always in flux.
Full of tension, yes, but also these surprising innovations.
Right.
Dramatic setbacks, but also truly inspiring human triumphs. Our goal here was to try and get beyond just the flood of headlines.
Right, to connect the dots.
Yeah, not just flag the key events you brought to the table, but really tried to illuminate those underlying forces, the surprising links, the strategic implications, hoping to give you a more joined up, maybe more actionable understanding of your world.
And maybe as you continue taking in news and information, just a thought to consider. Look beyond the headline itself. Think about those underlying currents, the human stories driving things.
Mm.
As you reflect on all these different accounts we've touched on, maybe ask yourself, how might these events, even the ones that seem isolated, be influencing the world you live in, subtly or maybe profoundly? And what new possibilities or perhaps challenges might they be presenting for you?
That's a great thought to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
We hope it's helped you see the world maybe a little more clearly and perhaps sparked even more curiosity in exploring the complex, interconnected reality that's all around you.